Everybody pull up a chair, get you a coffee. We're about to dive in. So before getting into these 4 devastating, shattering, soul-crushing books, I did want to start out with some levity here, a lighter note, and talk about my first ever package delivery. This is actually from one of the patrons here in the book club. That'll be linked below if you are looking for a book club. Jessica, so shout out you. One of the cooler parts of this YouTube channel is obviously sharing my love of books, but also hearing everyone else's love of books. And some of the best recommendations I've ever gotten were from YouTube, so it feels cool to be carving out a little corner. For those interested that have been following the channel, one of the best ways to support the channel is the Patreon, but I also have a book list in my bio on my YouTube page, and so that's where Jessica found this. And admittedly, it won't be a surprise, but it is very thoughtful. And I'm curious if any of you have read either of these. One of which we've actually talked about tons of times in the book club already, and it'll probably be a book we read and digest together. And this is first Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian. For those who are new to the channel, this year I've been doing my monthly book video recaps, and you can check those out here. And I've already read The Road and No Country for Old Men. And Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian is argued as his best work. It's constantly in top 10, top 20 lists. So thank you again. This is going to be a good addition to the pre-existing Cormac McCarthy books. And then second novel that is in here that I am super stoked about. I actually have seen this book. I think it was Books Are Sick. I follow his page. I think this is his favorite book or favorite from 2025. And that is Stoner by John Williams. And apparently this is just the accounts of an everyday guy. And I don't know too much more about this, and I'll just leave it there because I am excited to delve into it. Let's pop that right there, Stoner and Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian. These could fit into this book post that I'm making today, because I think both of these are ones of gravity or heavier books. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in to the 4 books, the 4 devastating books. These are the types of books that you read them, you close them, and you just stare at a wall. You're like, holy cow, that just hit me so hard. And each of these has periods in it that are unforgettable. 2 of these I've read this month, 2 are from past months, but all of them equally as hard-hitting for different reasons. There are probably about 10 dog-eared pages in all of these books. The longest one is 219 pages, so each of these you could definitely finish in a weekend. So the first is going to be Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I've definitely read books with bigger tragedies than this, but this is one that really just lingers because it's all about a gay man, and it was my pride read this month, but it's all about this gay man, David, and basically him having these pre-existing notions that he has to fit into, like this mold. He's thrown in with this cataclysmic nature of who he should be versus who he actually is. And it's this really shattering, colorful depiction of this man and his inner turmoil. He basically, I don't want to give away things, but it's mostly, I think, a story about fear. It's a story about being honest. It's a story about being seen, and this main character, I don't even know if you can call him a protagonist, to be honest, because there's a shift in the end that is the shattering part, certainly the shattering part, but it's hard to call our character here a protagonist. I actually read this alongside my brother-in-law, and he resonated with the character Giovanni, because Giovanni is this, in the front half, this like effervescent, captivating character who is so excited about David and who David is, and he's this bubbly, boyish person just looking for love. And David is this torn-ridden boy who has teetered the line of spending almost this entire novel like preserving the ideas that society and family members have portrayed for him. And so, yeah, I just rather than me mumble and rumble over this book without trying to reveal or give any spoilers, I will just read one little bit so that Baldwin's brilliance can lead you. Because I think the best part about this was Baldwin's writing. His prose is flowy, almost like a river. I don't know. It's very easy to read. I read this on the way to my wife's my wife's family put on a baby shower for us, and on the plane ride there, I was reading this so I could catch up with my brother-in-law. You know, sometimes you read a chapter and you're like, all right, that was enough. This was one that you could just keep reading. I'll just read this little anecdote. It's on page 5, so it's so early on that I can't give anything away. It says, I suppose this is why I asked her to marry me, to give myself something to be moored to, but people can't unhappily invent their mooring post. Their lovers and their friends any more than they can invent their parents. Life gives these, and also takes them away. And the great difficulty is to say yes to life. Anyway, very poetic writing, certainly shattering the ending and what happens to Giovanni and David, and there are these contradictions in his identity and him coming to grips with that or not. And I'll leave that to you to find out. Book 1, Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. All right, and book 2. Book 2 is one I have actually read before, but decided to come back to this month. And while I was doing some housework, I was actually listening to this and then coming back to the book to review the spots that I like the most and dog-ear them. And this is When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong, and I do apologize. But as Giovanni's Room was about fear and identity, this is more about the tragedy or fragility of life. And this is all about a neurosurgeon or someone on the trajectory of becoming a neurosurgeon and coming to grips with the reality and being really well educated. He understands the tragic, horrific nature of the terminal illness that he gets. He has a undiagnosable cancer that is basically putting him and his family in the train tracks of what is to come. Again, being a soon-to-be father, if you're new to this channel, you don't know that, but if you've been around, you certainly know that. But I truly just can't even imagine, one, what his wife was going through in this scenario as she is watching the man she loves just become this decrepit person, also having to make the decision to have or not to have kids. It's just truly something unimaginable. When he was being raised by his immigrant parents, they very much wanted him to be top class. And so a lot of his influences are literary influences. And it was pretty interesting, actually. There was a chapter of him riffing off books that I very much want to read and some that I have read, being that this is a book channel. And so that was just one anecdote that was interesting. But more about the plot is he took those influences to ruminate on what was one thing that he could leave for his kid. Oh, man, this is a gut punch for sure. It is shorter than it otherwise probably would have been due to this man's illness. And there's one part in particular that I want to read because I just think it is... Yet one thing cannot be robbed. Our daughter, Katie, I hope I'll live long enough that she has some memory of me. Words have a longevity that I do not. I had thought I could leave her a series of letters, but what would they say? I don't know what this girl will be like when she is 15. I don't even know if she'll take the nickname that we've given her. This is perhaps only one thing to say to this infant. That message I leave her with is simple. When you come to one of the many moments in life where you must give an account of yourself, provide a ledger of what you have been and done and meant to the world. Do not, I pray, discount that you have filled a dying man's days with a sated joy, a joy unknown to me in all my prior years, a joy that does not hunger for more and more, but rests satisfied in this time, right now. That is an enormous thing. Whew, I literally have chills reading this. As this title states, devastating book. Yeah, When Breath Becomes Air. If you haven't heard of it, this is your sign. Do give it a read. And for the third book is one that I came across on a different page, so I do want to give that page a shout out, and that's supposedly fun. But this is Interpreter of Maladies by Jhumpa Lahiri, I believe. Yeah, Jhumpa Lahiri. And this one actually surprised me. It's a collection of short stories, so it's not a novel or a memoir. So the first one was a novel, Giovanni's Room. Then we had a memoir with When Breath Becomes Air. In particular, the first short story in this one, not Interpreter of Maladies, which is, I think, the one that she's most known for, but the first short story, which is A Temporary Matter, is perhaps the most stunning to me. It's one that I keep thinking about, and it's about basically this, almost every theme in here is about like an immigrant family or an immigrant couple, and so it also seeps in some other things to consider in terms of culture and the likes of that. But the first one is about this Indian couple who is sitting on a street. Inconvenience to them, or an inconvenience to them, is that the power starts going out 1 hour a night, and that is simply due to the fact that they are on the poorer side of the street, and the wealthier side, they have no interruptions. They're just living their life and going on about their life. But this inconvenience actually becomes a opening or a window of opportunity for this couple, because with internet and with the availability of our everyday conveniences, they distract themselves and have actually grown apart due to being on, their cell phone or their computer. So this interruption allows for an opening for the wife to then ask a question of her husband every night. And at first, you can tell this husband's like a bit peeved or pissed off that she's taking this chance to, use it for good. Anyway, this opening allows for them to be an engaged couple, because she starts asking those hard-hitting questions of like, what's something about you I don't know? Or if you could tell me one thing that you haven't, what is it? And it just makes you question not only the malaise of life and how one, myself included, certainly can fall into the traps or the ease of just letting our mind wander from quick bite to quick bite to quick bite of dopamine and being distracted. So there are so many different stories in here. It's hard to really encompass all the themes here, but I think the seeds that are planted here mostly are that division happens not from one lightning strike or one explosion, but separation oftentimes accumulates over these very small actions that compound over time. And a lot of times it's the words that are unsaid or the feelings that are unspoken. Like I was just talking about the couple not speaking. There are all these emotions that are being bottled up that the world outside knows nothing about, and they just build. And while those build, you also build a compassion for these characters, and you build a compassion for the realism that is inked so vividly into these pages about her characters. Yeah, I'll just read this part, and this is about the first story, and it says, "His heart quickened. All day Shukumar had looked forward to the lights going out. They stood side by side at the sink, their reflections fitting together in the frame of the window. It made him shy, the way he felt the first time they stood together in the mirror. He couldn't recall the last time that they had been photographed. They had stopped attending parties and went nowhere together. The film in his camera still contained pictures of Shobha in the yard when she was pregnant. After finishing the dishes together, they leaned against the counter, drying their hands on either end of the towel. At 8 o'clock, the house went black. Shukumar lit the wicks of the candles impressed by their long, steady flames. Let's sit outside, Shoba said. I think it's warm still. So, yeah, beautiful book, beautiful book. And then the last one, certainly not the least, this is the smallest of the four and one I read in the month of April, I believe. So you can check that video out here if you're curious. And that is going to be Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. And I think Steinbeck, if you're in the book club or the Patreon, you certainly know that I love Steinbeck. I talk about him all the time, so I won't riff on this too long. But I think Steinbeck has the ability to do something remarkable with his characters. Currently, the book club's book of the month right now is Grapes of Wrath, and it's very similar to Of Mice and Men in terms of losing people on the journey and having responsibility of a family and looking out for others, and how the emotional weight of that can become just really taxing, but also one that makes life so much better when shared with others. And so he just has a remarkable way of depicting responsibility and the struggle in etching out a spot for yourself in life. And so I'll just read one little bit, and so I'll let you discover why this plot is super heavy, soul crushing. But anyway, Lenny is a gentle giant and George is a short, scrappy fellow. And George looks after this gentle, mentally impaired giant, if you will. And I'm just going to read one short bit here. It says, George went on, with us, it ain't like that. We got a future. We got somebody to talk to that gives a damn about us. We don't have to sit in no bar room blowing up Jack just because we ain't got no place to go. If them other guys get into jail, they can rot for all anybody gives a damn, but not us. And then Lenny broke in. But not us. And why? Because I got you to look after me, and you got me to look after you. Someday, we're going to get the Jack together, and we're going to have a little house and a couple of acres and a cow and some pigs and live off the fat of the land, Lenny shouted, and have rabbits. And so it's a promising novella about the potentiality of life. These books are certainly not the happiest of books, but they are books that encourage you to look inward, ask yourself some of those greater life questions of where you should be spending your time, or maybe spending less of your time, and how to orient one's compass going forward. It's certainly a lifelong mission, and I think that's one that literature helps with a lot, is giving us a peek or pulling back the curtain of what could or could not be based off one's own doings. So these are 4 books that absolutely wrecked me and made me ruminate on all the various topics of life. And I am curious, before we wrap up, what have been a few of the books that have sat with you the longest, maybe stirred something in you. Do let me know that. And if you have not subscribed to this channel and like book stuff, feel free to do that below. And as always, we'll see you on the next video. All right, peace out.